Welcome to another Burchfield Penney sketch break sponsored by Hyatt's All Things Creative. I'm Michaela, art educator here at the center, and today's prompt is travel. So I know we're finally getting into like this super busy holiday season. Lots of you are traveling, and hopefully with all of these prompts we've done all year long, you've picked up a sketchbook and are filling it up. And now you have to figure out how to take that on the road. And so I'm gonna show you my own personal kit that I take with me, and then I'm gonna show you a very easy way to transfer this onto either a single page or just give you ideas on how to do this inside your own book. So I have a very tiny sketchbook. It fits inside my purse, which is the most convenient thing I like about it. And it's watercolor pages. So it's very thick paper, and I love it. So I use this when I travel, and I bought this, so it's a new book. Used this recently to a trip to Philadelphia, and then Colonial Williamsburg. So these are just how I use it, and I use another extra page is like mess making for my watercolor kit. The other thing is that I use when I travel, because I love using watercolors and pen when I work, is that I have this kind of like fan watercolor kit. And so it's super easy. All the colors are in these trays, and then it folds all the way up, and you have like a water based watercolor brush. So this brush is acrylic, but also it has a reservoir in the handle to hold water. So when you squeeze the handle, water comes out of the tip of the brush to help you with your painting. So those are just some of the tools I use when I'm traveling and sketching and doing art on the road. I also like to use like a black pen for outlining, and of course I have a pencil with me too when I work. So you obviously don't need to use exactly what I'm using, but just to give you some ideas. Someone might prefer a larger sketchbook to work in if they like to work bigger. I prefer to work really small, because I like to sketch small and fast. So that works for me, but if you find something that works for you, those are just some ideas that I've implemented for myself in my own practice. So the prompt is travel, and I'm here to show you two easy ways to use a travel sketchbook out of a single sheet of paper. So I had shown in a past sketch break, we had worked on making your own sketchbooks out of a single sheet of paper where you folded it and you could draw within it, and that is a great travel sketchbook as well. This is on a single sheet of paper, and what I mean by having it to use as travel is that I've drawn a circle, and I've used a ruler or a guide to section out some quadrants or some panels. So the idea behind it is that in each of these three panels, you can draw a scene from the trip you were on. So wherever you went, if there was 3 pictures you took with your phone, or if you're into plein air and you're in a location, you could sketch 3 different things in a single like rotunda, and that would be your artwork for your trip. You can also obviously use many different pie slices. So if you have a long trip, or if you wanted to even encapsulate an entire year in a circle drawing, you could definitely add more lines and have it more. This one was obviously a little off-centered because I drew it really quickly, but the idea behind me showing you a couple different versions is that you don't need to fill in every space with a line. You can make them, maybe it's just half, 2 drawings. You could even do 4, but this one I decided to do 3. So I'm gonna get started. So I've already done the hard part. I drew my circle, which I used the template for, just so it looked really nice. But if you're at your desk, or if you're at home, or if you're in school, do your best to draw your circle freehand. Or I like to do is find like lids to things and draw circles that way. And then make your quadrants. So I chose to do 3. I figured I have just enough time to maybe sketch 1 or 2, hopefully all 3, in this last 10 minutes or so, because I keep gabbing. So I'm gonna get started. I think I'm gonna concentrate on, in my forefront of my mind, my last trip was in Philly. So I'm gonna think about that because that's kind of inspiring me at the moment. But think about a place that you have traveled recently and see if you can employ this method. Or you could, to think about this a little bit deeper, think about a place that you're going to go to. So maybe for Christmas or for New Year's or whatever, wherever you're traveling during this holiday season in this month, maybe you're going somewhere special and you're really inspired to draw something that you're going to be seeing. That would be really interesting too. So I'm just gonna start off with a really quick sketch here. One of the places we visited while in Philadelphia was City Hall, which is a beautiful building, and I can't stop thinking about it. So I'm gonna just do a little light sketch of what I remember seeing. I also have a photograph I took of City Hall that I'm looking at on the side off screen as a reference guide. I don't remember it this detailed, but I did take a photograph while I was there. So reference photos are always nice, especially if you're not into drawing in plein air, which means drawing from a landscape, from life, like in person. That is not always my cup of tea. I tend to get really frustrated when I do plein air. So I admire anyone who can really do a good plein air sketch or painting. I find it frustrating. So I usually take really great pictures from lots of different angles and details, and later I can sit down at my desk and really start drawing. So another interesting way you can use this method is if you've ever read or looked up information or even read books about comics. This is essentially, you're making a comic. It's crude, it doesn't have to be, but it is a type of visual story, just like a comic is. And I've used this before to draw a story. So when you think about it that way, as you're planning out your sketches, try and think of different ways that this could tell a story. Maybe it's a story of your trip, you know, the places you went, what you enjoyed, as a visual reminder. So when you look at it, you know exactly, like, oh yeah, I remember going here and I really liked this. Especially when you like it, you're more apt to finish the drawing, right? Because you're inspired by it. But that's another way to think about the sketch. They're not 3 random images or 4 random images if you decided to do the 4 quadrants. But really think about, you know, okay, I'm drawing Philadelphia. So maybe my focus is on the historical aspects of it. So maybe I'll draw the Liberty Bell or Independence Hall, or maybe it's just my trip in general and what I personally experienced. So maybe I'll draw, the food that I ate for dinner that was delicious, or the parks we walked through and the flowers we saw, or the dogs we saw walking down the street. You can keep it thematic, but you definitely don't need to. All right. So give that some thought as you're working, It's, And of course, this is for you, so make sure you're enjoying what you're seeing and drawing. All right, now I'm at a point where I've got 5 minutes left with you, so I'm just gonna do some quick atmospheric, background clouds. Doesn't need to be super detailed. So maybe the next thing I'm drawing is a steak sandwich. Philly cheesesteak. Those are popular, and we did eat those while we were there. Or the classic love statue. Those are all, classic Philadelphia. But I think to make this more interesting for myself, I'm gonna do a love statue. Which I miss having his artwork here in Buffalo. That was a great show. To keep it interesting, I am going to crop this. Because I feel like it's a little played out to draw the whole thing. That's my own personal feeling at this present moment. So instead of trying to fit all 4 of those letters in this teeny tiny little box, I think I'm just going to let's get it a little bit closer because one side's thicker. I don't even think that's really right. That looks a little bit better. All right, and then that is actually, this part connects to the E. And then that's a straight line because the O, let's see, kind of imaginary. I think it would go all the way. Yeah, that's right. Or just about. Oops. This eraser is very smudgy. Let's see. I think this would be easier to really make it all out if it was in color, but you get the idea. Okay, so I've got a few seconds left with everyone before my 15-minute timer is gonna set off. So just to reiterate, and maybe you can see it, maybe you can't. Actually, in my sketchbook, I had drawn some things from our travels already, so that's what I was referencing for these two specifically. So yeah, the travel rotunda. So circle template, super easy to implement, especially if you're working in a larger sketchbook. This is just an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, but of course with your own work, and if you're deciding you're gonna use single sheets, you know, take photos of where you're going so you can remember the details. And if you're working from life, you know, just taking that time to find a comfortable spot and work is the best way. But for those at home that have pictures or are looking forward to trips, this is my suggestion for a travel sketch. So I hope you really enjoyed this sketch break, and join us in 2 weeks on the 28th, and our prompt is going to be reflections as we get ready for the new year 2022 and the last sketch break of the year. All right, thank you.